Welcome to Promo Kitchen's newest educational series, Meet Us in the Kitchen. The kitchen is where industry leaders and independent minds come together to whip up a feast of fresh ideas. The volunteers at Promo Kitchen are thrilled to serve you a brand new educational series that's packed with relevant bite-sized insights and actionable strategies. Join other promo pioneers and watch these merch misfits spice up the conversation. All right. This is on. It's on. Is this thing on?
It's on.
I have the amazing, great fortune of being joined by three amazing guests today. We are officially meeting in the kitchen. You can't quite get the total vibe, but we're actually all in Carson's kitchen, but we have our own little thing going on, our own little vibes. So if Carson were so gracious and grateful to invite us over, which she would, we would be mixing it up big time with margaritas, with all the fun, chips and salsa in the kitchen. And so, yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is another amazing episode of Meet Us in the Kitchen. Our Promo Kitchen series continues. I am surrounded by greatness. Ladies first, Carson Roncketto, COO. That's a lot of sweet initials. Super deluxe, super grateful, super cool new name and brand. Carson, thank you for being here. Also, I don't know where you are on the left or the right, it doesn't matter, but Cola Henderson. Cola, it's Henderson now, right? I want to make sure because I knew you before.
It's true. I went
Awesome.
and got married. Yep.
Got married, had kiddos, living life to the fullest, to the max. You are the founder of Milo Brand Studio. And grateful that you're here as well. Thank you. And then the man, the myth, and the legend somehow made time for us. And I tease him because I would spend every other day with my friend, but just isn't possible. So to catch you now on this podcast, this video cast, Mr. Bobby Lehew, the one and only Chief Content Officer at commonsku. Can you hear the cheers?
Oh my God.
And I'm going to add a little spice on top of that.
I knew you were going to be too generous. Thank you.
Listen, you are the original gangster, founder of Promo Kitchen, and all of your epic badassery and captain of mischief, the mischievous Bobby Lehew, who started podcasting before anyone even knew what the hell that was. So,
at least in our industry. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome. It's great to see the three of you, and I'm lucky to have you. Sorry for the long intros, but you guys are awesome. So here we are, just hanging in Carson's kitchen, meeting us in the kitchen. We got all kinds of fun vibes. We might have margaritas. Look, there's one now.
Carson made me a espresso martini.
I did.
Wow. Where's the love?
And it's delightful.
Well, you have overdone it again, Carson.
Oh,
and I don't know how you did that technologically to get it over to Cola, but I am super impressed with that. Well, as you know, we wanted to have a fun, relaxed conversation. Not really scripted, but just something that we could, get a bite of in the next 20, 30, 40 minutes. We'll keep recording. We may edit. Who knows? This is a one-take wonder kind of a situation. So we're all flexible. We're going to go in and out of order. We might wander off topic. But Carson, you were grateful enough to volunteer to talk to us a little bit more about the concept of brand. B-R-A-N-D, brand. Branding, brand. We use that word a lot, especially here in Promo Town. Branded merch, swag, whatever we say these days. Bobby, what are we supposed to say? You put us.
You know what? I always say that it doesn't matter. The client just needs easy language handle, like an easy language handle to open the door of a conversation with you. And so it doesn't matter. Merch is the growing trend, but we can call it whatever we want. Have you noticed, though, the industry calls it promo? So we'll call ourselves the promo industry.
I think so.
Yet we're calling the medium merch. I think that's interesting.
I do think it's interesting.
Yeah,
I just returned from the ASI Power Summit, and they were still very much in the promo products or promo world. So
right.
But here we are, Carson. What do you think? Let's do our best to let you give. We're in your kitchen, by the way. So why don't you tell us, define for us in your world, in your mind, what is brand? What does that even mean?
Gosh, you would start with me, Jay.
I thought Bobby was starting the whole time, then Carson and I were just going to be like, yeah,
whatever Bobby says, right?
No, we've heard that guy. Come
That's
on.
Exactly right. Thank you, Jay.
Oh, sorry, you're old.
Thank you, Jay.
Bobby.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take a stab at it. And to me, it's the feeling that you get when you think about a company. it's the vibe, it's the general personality. Um, I think that other than people, that brand is actually probably our biggest asset as a company. So I don't know. I think that that's my short answer would just be, how does the company, the organization make you feel? And I think that's sort of the essence of brand.
Yes. I love the short answer,
Yeah.
Carson. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm
That's a,
sure
that's a goal.
there's a far more correct, long-winded answer that could be given. Maybe Bobby, maybe you have it, but
Mm.
yeah,
I love the emphasis on feeling,
yeah,
and I love your emphasis on second to our people, that brand might be the most important asset we have. I
yeah.
heard you say that, so I'm giving you credit for that.
Well, good. Yeah. I think it's what attracts other people to us or detracts them to us as
Sure.
well, right?
I agree. Cola, what do you think? You've got some
Yeah,
insights here.
I think it kind of, to piggyback off of what Carson's talking about, is that it goes so far beyond just a logo, a tagline, the color, the typeface, like all of that's great. But when we're talking about a brand, we're talking about an experience and how something does make you feel. And to your point, Carson, whether that attracts people or maybe detracts them,
Mhm.
and that's okay. Like, we're
Yeah.
not for everybody. But what that experience is going to look like. And I think in our whole rebrand, and I feel like constant discovery process here at Milo, and what we're doing is that it's never ending of
Yeah.
trying to discover like what we do want that feeling to be, and it might adjust in small ways along the way, and then at other times it adjusts so big that you change your whole name and your whole color scheme and the whole rigmarole. So I think it's just really comes down to that experience and what has that recognition and that feeling. I mean, all of us have
Yes.
brands that are
Yes.
easily recognizable. If it's a Coke bottle or it's a Starbucks, I mean, we
Yeah.
can know that without even seeing the name.
Yeah.
So how do we build brands that are going to have, an impact?
And
Yeah.
before we give it over to Bobby, excellent answer. I love that key word, experience.
Hmm.
It brings to mind an espresso martini that you're going to
Mm,
experience
mhm,
just right about now.
mhm.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
love it. I love it. I love what you said. But and we're going to dive in. Both of you. The reason that our viewers and listeners don't know this yet, but both of you have recently been through a rebrand, and that's really why we wanted to have both of you as our superstars and as our guests. But Bobby, obviously, you've dedicated a tremendous amount of your time, your life, your vision to this idea, this concept of whether it's marketing and branding or all of the above. And we could probably dig deep and do a 3 hour, but we don't have 3 hours. So give me the 3 minute Bobby version of what do you want to add to this conversation?
the,
What's your takeaway here?
the funniest part is that, I've talked to a lot of distributors, and I've talked to a lot of distributors after they've rebranded, like interviewing them on podcasts like these. And I don't think there's two better words to sum up what Carson and Cola just said: with experience and vibe. And we didn't have, culturally speaking, we didn't have a word like vibe before.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, we didn't have the word vibe when we created, but that was it. Like, now we know what vibe means. When I look at Milo, you see a merch experience that is playful and energetic. When you look at Super Deluxe, you see a merch experience that's very trend forward and creativity. And they both have their own vibe, and they both have their own experience. And I love that you can put those two side by side, and you can feel a different, distinct kind of energy from both of those brands. So I think that sums it up very well. Here's my nerdy definition. Forgive me, I got a little bit
No, we're not going to forgive you. We love this. Add it.
Okay,
Drop it.
so my nerdy definition, it's a visible expression of an intangible intent. So what I mean by that is it's the visible expression of what a brand intends to do, whether we tend to transform, whether we tend to convert, whatever it might be, but it's a real visible expression. But experience and vibe is everything.
So good. You guys, there's nothing for me to add. You nailed it. You crushed it. Bobby, thank you for getting nerdy too, because
But Jay,
we need
we
it.
can't let you off the hook. What do you think?
Yes. Yeah.
The interviewer doesn't get to comment
Oh,
off.
oh,
You're
yes,
going to
they
ask
do.
them.
It's my rules.
Yeah.
It's my
Okay.
rules.
All
It's
right. Your
my
house.
Yeah,
kitchen,
yeah, yeah.
Jay. It's
Yeah,
my
It's
Carson's
your
kitchen.
kitchen, your
kitchen. I'm a
house.
guest in your
Right. Yeah.
kitchen.
Yeah.
So,
Well, listen, I honestly have some perspectives and have some feelings. Speaking of that word,
mhm.
it's been a long-standing, little bit of a cliche. I think about 8 years ago, I said, available now on Etsy. The T-shirt says, "Your vibe attracts your tribe,"
Mm,
and
yeah.
using that same word vibe. And I do embrace the word tribe. I don't have issues with it. I know others have. I'm okay with it. I think it's a great synonym for community. So to me, in the spirit in which it's intended, I think we put out there whether we mean to or don't. So whether we're purposeful and intent and specific, or whether we're just a wandering generality of
Yeah.
a mess and chaos, it's still doing it. It's still working. It's still sending out those expressions, Bobby, that you use that word. That so to me, yeah, it's all of what you guys have said, and it's. I love Cola that you were a little bit more specific of when it's not the logo, the
Mhm.
typeface,
Yeah.
the colors, which are supportive and can help help be a foundation for that vibe, for that feeling, and for that expression. But yeah, so to me, I got stuck with this taco thing a while ago. I don't know if you guys know that.
I didn't.
And it came, maybe you don't know this. I think I've said this once to Bobby before, but why tacos, Jay? Of course, yes, they're containers of greatness, and yes, I love them. Semi addicted. But really, it was from a off the cuff expression about 8 years ago when someone asked me what the difference between marketing and branding was. And I didn't really have a good answer. And so, in my typical way, I just made something up on the spot. I said, it's a lot like a taco. And everyone in the was like, what? And I said, well, when I say the word, you immediately know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But the taco itself, the shell, the outer thing that we hold, that we can touch in promo, that's important to us. That's kind of like your brand. It's the vibe, it's the feeling, it's the expression of everything that's inside of it, and all of those little bits and pieces and juicy goodness that's inside that taco. Those are all those little marketing tactics, strategies. And so that's where that all came from. And then, you know, fast forward to today, people are still sending me taco swag, and I love it. So
I had no idea. I
yeah,
thought you just loved tacos and you're
well,
like
I do. I have met
about
many occasions.
it and
Yeah, in my house, we celebrate on other days besides Tuesday. I'll just say
yeah.
that. And in Carson's kitchen, we might celebrate with anything, and I would be happy just to be there. So
Well, you are here, Jay.
that's
You
true.
are here.
Here we are. So I'm gonna kick it back to you, Bobby. But for a second, let's put this into context. Sometimes we think of brands and we think of retail, like we think of the retail brand. And sometimes we think of brands, we think of like, Fortune 500, things that are instantly iconic and recognizable. I think, Cola, you said Coca-Cola, right? Or Starbucks. But it's just as important whether you're a solopreneur, right, Bobby? It's just
Yeah.
as important for that emerging startup, whether you're print, promo, or apparel. This idea of brand, it applies to all of us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually heard someone else mention that the day we live in a day and age where a solopreneur can actually look, feel, and operate like a big brand. You think
Yeah.
about the AI
Mm,
technology, you think about outsourcing
yep.
overseas, you think about partnering with the right designers. And I know distributors that are in the 200 employee category that are partnering with design firms. And you could argue that somebody starting out in the business can build as impressive a brand in the sense of the experience, customer experience, and the vibe that it creates around design and intent and all those things. So it's an interesting world we live in that the playing field's pretty level in that regard.
Love that. That's a great point. So let's kick it to you, Carson. So tell us a little bit about your brand. Tell us a little bit about, well, let's start with this. How many folks are involved at Super Deluxe? Is it one, two, 10? What's the magic number over there?
There's 8.
8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you recently went through, all 8 of you, upside, downside, sideways.
Right.
You went through a rebrand. How was that process? Was it awesome? Was it terrible? Was it
Oh, it
all of
was
the above?
it was awesome. It's awesome. It was a lot of work. When you embark, I think on that journey, there's so many things. If you're going to do it right, there's so
Mhm.
much work to be done. Um,
How long did that process take start to finish? Do you care to share?
sure, sure.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Cola's
Did I
laughing because we were going through this about the same time, and ours took a lot longer than I think theirs did. But for us, it took about 9 months. And I'm
Okay.
not saying it has to take that long. I think for us, our company had been around for over 20 years, and we were at this place where we felt like there the work that we were doing, the clients that we were serving, the quality of the output no longer matched our vibe, the work that we do. And so I think that that was the first inclination for us that we needed to go down the path of a rebrand.
Mhm.
Initially, we were only going to change our brand identity. We weren't going to change the name.
Okay.
And that's really where we began. And we went
Okay.
down that path of sort of changing some of the more traditional things that you think of when you think of a brand, like our logo, our look, our color palette, our typeface. And as we went through that, we realized that to do this right, and I think Cola, y'all probably had the similar experience, that our name had to change along
Mm.
with it.
So is that part of the path of discovery? I
It
love that you
was.
didn't have that
It,
in mind, but that's where you ended up and you did it.
You're exactly right. And I think that that's why it took us maybe a little longer than we would have initially hoped, is because we spent a lot of time, I think, in that discovery phase. I would say that actually finding our name was harder than everything that came after that. I
Mm.
mean, just hours upon hours of ideating around what that new name should be, and then making sure that there was a story to be told around that name.
Very
So
cool.
9 months, roughly from start to finish, and that
Hmm.
included, everything from the new brand identity to a lot of copy and content, a new website, of course, eventually new merch. So really, really fun
Sweet.
experience. But I think at the end of the day, for us, it was about, we needed to make sure that we were standing out in what can be sort of a crowded marketplace, and
Right.
we wanted our work to feel aligned with the brand. And
Yeah.
I'm happy to say that I feel like it does now. And one of the coolest things that I think came out of that is, of course, we all want to generate new business, and we want our customers to get excited about it. But I saw a real shift even internally in our team,
Mm.
just in the energy and how they interact with the brand, that is so far beyond what I could have expected, and is so different from the way we were previously creative. Everybody feels bought in, everybody's connected, everybody's excited. They can't wait to, share our pitch decks with clients with our new brand. They're the
Cool.
first ones. We just did some new self promo and they're snagging that yesterday. So I feel like that's a huge indicator when your internal team gets bought in really quickly that you're doing it right. And they were a part of the process.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's I'm sure why the on ramp to buy-in was even a
Yeah.
little shorter because you smart move. Okay, Cola, what about you? I mean, 9 months was the bar, so I know you're a winner, and I know you may have done it in less time.
I don't know that that's necessarily true. The only reason we rebranded was because my mom said it was time to.
Sometimes we
When
just need to do what
Yeah,
mom says,
when
right?
Angie says,
that's my advice. Like, if mom says, then I guess you should do it. I don't know. No, she planted the seed a couple times. The first
Okay.
time, I don't even think I realized it. And then I'm really bad at hiding facial expressions, so I can only imagine what I looked like a kind of a "what the hell are you thinking" sort of a thing. It just sounded like a lot of work, and I love the name Soul and Swag, our original name. I love
Yeah.
the brand, I love the colors, it's fun. But as we kind of talked a little bit more, because initially I was a no, like that is just too much time,
Oh,
too much work.
interesting. Okay.
And then she kind of kept at me a little bit. She's always been ahead of the curve though. Like, she knew what iPhones were going to be before they were a thing. Like, she's just got this intuition about her. But the kicker was we lost a client, which was one of those that it was good that we lost them.
Hmm.
But it made me reflect a little bit more. And Carson and I had conversations about that of, what do we look like to other people? I mean, we
Yeah.
know who we are. We know our capabilities. They're, in my opinion, amazing.
yeah,
But what do other people see?
yeah,
They're not seeing that. We're not even getting them in the door or getting the opportunity for the conversation because of what we look like, or we look a
yeah,
little too small, or we were called by that client that we lost a cute little shop. And
Ooh.
I
Mm,
about went through the
yeah.
phone. It was good we weren't in person. So, but
Yeah.
things like that are what
Ooh. Them
you
is
look back.
fighting words, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You look back and you're like, wow, I didn't know how much I needed that. As mad as that made me, it gave me that little extra push, and then the conversation started. And I mean, the hours of time that go into the discovery phase. To your point, Carson, on top of just finding a name, you can't fall too in love until you make sure that there's a URL available. So the
Absolutely.
amount of time my mom spent on that side of it, of just research development, like what do people want to see? What do we want to look and feel like? And what is that vibe and that culture we're trying to create? And it takes a lot of time
Right.
to do it. So from the start of us actually me saying okay to the rebrand, I want to say it was about 6 months
Okay.
maybe, but the seed was planted at least 4 or 5 months before that.
Mm.
So I'll let you decide who the winner is. But
Well, I think we have an official tie because the time really didn't matter. That was just my way of being sassy. You're both
yeah,
winners. Whether it's 9 months, 6 months, or longer or shorter, I think
yeah,
that your intentionality is what is so meaningful to me.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, Cola, follow up if you're okay with this.
yeah,
Previously, many people complimented you on the Soul and Swag name. I
yeah,
remember. I remember, oh God, you have one of the greatest names. It's so memorable.
yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
me about giving that up and going to Milo and tell us what Milo means. What does that symbolize? What does that stand for? What is there? Is there something there? Is it
Yeah. So I think, I mean, that was part of my thing was I was like, hold on, we've built this brand around Omaha. People are getting to know who we are. They even recognize our ampersand. My mom always hated the ampersand. It annoys her when she tries to save things. It's a whole thing. I'm like, well, you built the logo. So, but I still love that name. I still love that brand. I think it was a little, it's hard to find the right word. I felt like it was time to better reflect what we did. It was
okay?
time to kind of grow up a little bit. It was time to go
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
oh, this cute boutique type of look to more of a branded merchandise agency and to have that look and feel with everything we did because I believed that that was the work we were doing. It just really wasn't reflected in our brand. And I think that's where Carson and
Yeah.
I mean, we had multiple conversations about it and we kept kind of having some of these similar stories or experiences that was like, it's time for something to change. And I think the interesting part too now, as hard as it was to say goodbye to Soul and Swag, now we're Milo, which stands for Merch You Love, because in the end, we realized the thing that we want
Mm.
is people to love the experience. We want them to love the product, love working with us, love just the overall vibe and experience of what we do. And we want to make a difference in the world that goes beyond just selling you something.
Yeah.
So love was a huge factor for us. But I think the interesting thing is that, like, it just never ends of kind of re-looking at things. And I'm not saying we're going to rebrand again anytime soon, but like this year there's been so much around now our strategy and our experience and
Right.
trying to continue to elevate that and match the needs of our customers. And I'm not sure that that ever really goes away. I mean, Bobby, you've been doing this much longer. I think it's just you have to constantly be evaluating and looking at how do we do a little bit better, make things a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So
I love
great.
how I love how both your brands are, and this intangible intent idea. I love how both your brands are internal mission to your team. Like merch you love, Milo is merch you love, and so when you,
So
it's like
great.
subconsciously, but it's when you're creating things for clients, you have to create something they love. And the
Yeah.
same thing with Super Deluxe.
Yeah.
I remember Carson and I talking about that, like that it becomes an internal drive
Yeah.
mechanism, not just a brand, outside brand that everybody experiences, but an inside brand that's a drive mechanism for creating better experiences for a customer.
Yeah.
I absolutely have fallen in love with Milo. Now that I know what it stands for.
Yeah.
Now
Oh,
that I know
good.
that there's meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so cool, Bobby. What do you think about these amazing journeys that both Carson and Cole have taken? What based on their answers? Any insights? Any little
Well,
nuggets?
it's hard to sum up. It's an exhausting process, as everybody knows. Like it's hard to sum up all the details that you have to take care of in order to do something like. But it's an absolutely exhausting process that is worth it on the other side. But as I mentioned, I just love that they're both like a mission. Like their brands and their names inherit both a mission and their intent. I don't know that I can add to that, but I think it's cool that they did that.
No, I do too. I think that's great. Great ad. So now that you've both done it, if someone came to you and said, "Well, when's the right time to brand?"
Hmm.
Cola, what would you say? When's the right time to brand?
I would say you should never stop talking about it. And
Hmm.
so I think that's one thing I've learned in this whole process, again, in the on the front end, I was like, are you crazy, mom? Like, absolutely not. And now I feel like it's just this, it's going to be a continuous thing of just a conversation. Do we still love the brand? Do we love the brand? Because if we don't, how are we going to sell it to anybody else? Right? How are we going to make this entire experience if we're not truly in love with what we're doing?
Yeah.
And so I think, but as far as the right time, I mean, Bobby mentioned it earlier. I don't know that you can pinpoint what that is. I think if it comes in your mind, whether you're an owner, you're in marketing, strategy, whatever within the company, if it crosses your mind, it's maybe time to talk about it,
Mm.
right? Because there's something, Carson, you said yours initially was just kind of some smaller
Right.
changes, not a full rebrand. It's
Right.
more of a refresh, and then it evolved into what it did.
Right.
And so even if that's what it starts as, it's like, oh,
Mhm.
let's alter this, or maybe we need a different, smaller division that helps with this type of experience. It's I don't think it's ever going to be a bad thing to have the conversation with kind of your leadership team. So that didn't really answer your question, but I think it sounded
No, it
okay.
did. It sounded great, and it did answer my question.
It's fantastic, Cola, because I think what you just said was listen to your intuition, because your subconscious is sometimes smarter than your conscious awareness, and something's happening in you and in your business and the way you feel about it. Even if you can't like point at the numbers, something's going on inside that's
Mm-hmm.
your brand intuition that goes, hey, I think it's time for
Mm.
this. And I think Carson mentioned, like, both of you, I think in your cases, your clients had changed, like clients were changing, or you had changed who you wanted to work with.
Right.
Yeah, did you, by the way, Carson, did you get that kick in the butt? Like, were you ever called a cute little shop like Cola?
Oh, I mean, whether you're called that or not, if you're even if it's not those same words, like you understand the general
Mhm,
sentiment, right?
mhm.
And so if we definitely had experiences where clients might question whether or not we were large enough, right, to take on a particular project. And that's definitely enough to give pause about the brand, about how we're messaging, how we're going to market. And I think for us, when you seek growth, you aspire for more. If you're hearing that sort of thing from your clients,
Right.
it should at least make you question. I think if you can't confidently say that your brand has the power to demand attention, I think you should consider a rebrand.
Wow, that's gonna go in the show notes, and we don't even have show notes,
It's
but
like
that
the
was
headline.
woo, woo,
you know.
Mm.
well
I,
said. So
Jay,
good.
something I noticed talking to a lot of distributors who rebranded, many of them had to rebrand post pandemic because they were forced to open up new service channels to their
Mhm.
Mm,
customers, whether it was kitting or fulfillment or whatever it might be. And so when they took a look at their top 5 clients and why clients buy from them, they had to rethink why
Yeah.
clients buy from them. And so there were a lot of obvious mechanisms like that take place. But I
mhm.
think a lot of folks could probably do that exercise. Take your top 5 clients and see, list the services in a table of what it is that they're utilizing you for, because you may find that 3 out of 5 are utilizing you for design services that weren't part of your
Mm.
original vision and your original idea.
Mhm.
And so our clients I sometimes like to ask distributors, did you rebrand, or did your client rebrand you for you, in the sense of, are
They
you
led you
following your
there.
client's
Yeah.
lead, right? Because I know that was our experience in rebranding. It was we were following our client's lead.
Yeah.
And it's like an intuitive hand-in-hand process with the
Mm.
client, right, as you're moving along.
Mhm.
So it's really interesting. I think it's a fascinating thing to do, and understand the mechanisms of what drives it. But a lot of people have to rebrand just because of the opening up of services.
I love what you said, Bobby. Love it.
But to add on to that, Bobby, of just like it giving you an opportunity as a company to decide not just who you want to be, but who you don't want to be.
Oh yeah,
Because
that's
I
so
think
good.
that's a constant
Brilliant.
conversation for us too, of certain projects that come across our
Yeah.
plate that we're like, this is not normal promo world type
Yeah.
of project. Do we want it or do we not? Do we see an opportunity here? So to your
Yeah.
point, Bobby, not just like extra services and things, but is that who we want to be?
Yeah.
And then how are we reflecting that so people understand, or at least, it opens up the conversation
Mhm.
of what we really can do and what we can offer.
Yeah. Really great point.
I don't know that we're at the advice portion of this, but one of the things that was
Of course we are.
was really helpful for us. We're talking a lot about how like our clients may lead us there. And I think getting feedback from clients, that was a big part, I think, of our discovery and our process. But I think just seeking guidance outside of ourselves, seeking guidance
Mm.
outside of our teams. We
Yeah.
obviously need to be driving that, but having outside resources, whether it's partnering with another agency to help you, in the rebrand, or even just asking your friends and family who like maybe kind of know what we do, but getting their feedback, getting feedback from other people, maybe not in promo, but in the but in the marketing space. Cola and I both shared as we were going through our rebrand at different phases where we were at. And we're part of, a group of other women business owners, and they were a part of that process in many ways. So I think just getting outside of ourselves, because we can become so laser focused in, we may lose the opportunity to really expand our brand in some really powerful ways without that sort of perspective.
Yeah.
Great wisdom. I think that's great. Bobby, when you were talking about that matrix of here are the services we offer,
Mhm.
whether it's pre or post pandemic, and here's what we're known for, here's what we're great at. These are, these are the things, these are the tasks. This is why people buy from us.
Mhm.
A lot of times I build on that by reminding ourselves to go back to those customers and don't assume, ask them. And I think this is appropriate in this rebranding or even a refresh to get to that space. And I'd love to hear if Carson or Cola, did you talk to your customers and say, hey, what is it that we offer you that you love? Like, what's that piece that you can't live without?
Yeah.
Was that part of your process in this?
We did. We definitely got their feedback. We wanted to understand, why is it that, not necessarily why they came to us to begin with, but why do you continue
Yeah, right.
to come to
Mm-hmm.
us? And so
Mm.
understanding that, I think, really helped us to make sure we were aligning that rebrand with not only what we think we do well, but what do they, it's great, to know what we think we do well, but what do they think we do well?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean.
And it's not always what you would
What you think.
expect.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I would agree too. I don't know that it was as specific just to the rebrand. I think it's part of just the questions that we try to ask on a regular basis so that we're being reflective. But I think it played a factor into the rebrand
Cool.
Yeah.
of asking, yeah, why do you like to work with us? And same thing, Carson, there's always some surprising answers or things that you're like, oh, okay, we were trying to improve that, but you like that?
Great.
That's good to know because I think it is confusing. I'm glad you're not confused, you know?
Yeah.
So asking those questions and especially with a few of our top clients that we knew would be really honest with us, it's something that we try to do on a pretty regular basis, at least once a year to have some of that, but definitely had some of those before. It had nothing to do with talking about a rebrand.
Yeah.
We were just gathering some of that information from them before we told them we were going to be rebranding.
Very cool. I love your answers. Thank you for being honest and transparent. It came to my mind as Bobby was saying that about, that little matrix in your mind of here are the services. And then
Yeah.
sometimes clients are going to drag you / lead you into the next phase of your business.
Yeah.
And so that you can grow up and not be that cute little shop, but be a full scale agency. Right, Carson?
No more
You
cute
got
little
it.
Right,
shop.
Cola?
You got it.
I like, like cute little puppies and cute little babies, but cute little shop, no, sir.
I
Nope.
like cute bags of money
Yeah.
is what
There
I
you
like.
go.
Right. Yeah.
So
Right.
Me
if
too.
my top customers want me to be a cute little whatever, cute little taco, hey, whoa,
Got
let's
it.
go. Interesting. Okay, I got a little off topic there. That was it's classic Jay. All right, I do have something I was going to surprise you with, and here it is. If you guys are kind of ready for this, so one of the things that I like to do is I don't have nearly the library behind me that Mr. Lehew has, but and there are no authors from Japan and there's no poetry. However,
Yeah.
Bobby, I know you're going to know this name, Jack Trout. Jack Trout
Mhm.
introduced the concept. At least this is my opinion. He introduced this concept of really the differentiation because he was the one I think came up with the statement, "Don't try to be better, try to be different." And his book in 2000, which was Differentiate or Die, emphasized that point. Here we are hanging out in Carson's kitchen, and I think it's so easy, and we know this like intuitively. We're in a saturated market. We're in this noisy, confusing, chaotic place. And I think that rebrand and being bold and being different is going to, when we are bold and different, it's even more effective. It's like the multiplier.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? Don't try to be better, try to be different.